Well guys, this is the final predictions video before we head into the World Cup, and I am hoping to do some World Cup predictions, so be sure to keep your eyes out for them. But Game Week 16 in the Premier League. First of all, those were my predictions up there from Game Week 15. It still wasn't my greatest of weeks, but it was certainly an improvement on last week. And as always, loads of you guys got involved. I'll put some of the YouTube comments on screen now from the last video. Be sure to get your predictions down in the comments below for this weekend's games. And a well done to who won our online league as well. Well done to you, mate. As always, we will go through all of the games coming up this weekend together. But first, we have a video sponsor this week. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. With so many classes available, you can look to learn a variety of skills, and I've spoken to you guys previously on trying to improve my editing, improve my filmmaking, and I found a class that was quite a little bit different but really interesting called iPhone Filmmaking. Create cinematic videos with your iPhone, and this was by Caleb Babcock and Niles Gray. What I really like about Skillshare is that all of the videos are subsectioned, so it's really easy to start watching a class or a video and then go away and come back and easily find the parts that you either left off at or re-watch some of the classes that maybe you want to learn a little bit more on. And one thing I really enjoy with video learning as well, because I'm not somebody who can really sit down and, you know, read for a long period of time. So instead, I can use Skillshare while I'm making the tea or cleaning up or doing something else, and always taking in information and learning from a video at the same time. With thousands of classes, I know that I will always be able to find what I need help with on Skillshare, whether it is video editing, video creation, or something different, photography, painting, languages. I know for a fact that Skillshare will have whatever I need help with, and who knows what I will look to try and learn next. Maybe something completely new that I've not tried before. Skillshare have very kindly given me a link that I will put down in the description. It will give the first 1,000 of you guys the chance to sign up to Skillshare for free for a month. So you can go on there, have a look, try out some of the classes. So be sure to go and check it out. As I say, it's free to do so for the first month. It would really help the channel by taking a look. And who knows, maybe you'll find something that can help you as well. To kick things off on the Saturday at 12:30, we have got Manchester City taking on Brentford. So Man City continued their winning ways at the weekend. Just thanks to a last-minute penalty, they beat Fulham 2-1. Haaland comes on, blasts the ball in the back of the net, taking on a Brentford side who were actually winning 2-1, and they drew, thanks to a last-minute own goal, actually, that made them settle for a point instead of all three. In this game, I am back in Manchester City. I've gone 2-0 in that one. They're at home. Haaland should be back. It could be more, but I'm going to go 2-0. On to the 3 o'clock games now. We have got Bournemouth taking on Everton. So Bournemouth played an absolute cracker of a game at the weekend where they actually lost 4-3 against Leeds, but they were winning 3-1. They were winning 3-1 and lost 4-3, and I think that's 4 losses in a row for Bournemouth now. They'd been doing so well, and I spoke about this. They were riding such a high, and it's kind of starting to fall away now. I mean, they scored some absolute cracking goals. Billings' goal was sensational, but it wasn't enough, and they go home with nothing. I mean, they can take positives that they scored the goals, but to be 3-1 up and lose 4-3 is not very good. They're taking on an Everton side who actually sit just 1 place ahead of them in the league. We've spoken about Everton. They are getting way better defensively, but going forward, they just don't have that much. They lost their game against Leicester 2-0 at the weekend. I mean, in fairness, 2 banging goals on that one as well. Tillemans with an absolute screamer. Barnes finishes it off for a 2-0. But I think Leicester had 8 shots on target. Everton only had 2. So I think that's the problem with Everton, is just scoring the goals. So I've actually backed the home team. I've backed Bournemouth. I've gone 2-1. Can Bournemouth get back to winning ways? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, we have got Liverpool taking on Southampton. So Liverpool continue to surprise us with what team is going to turn up on the day, because they lost against Nottingham Forest, they lost against Leeds, and then they beat Spurs 2-1 away from home. You know, there is no consistency with Liverpool right now, but what they will be happy about is 3 points against a good side. Salah gets 2 goals as well, so is he getting back to where they want to be? We'll have to wait and see as they take on a Southampton side who have slipped down into the relegation zones now. A 4-1 loss against Newcastle at home at the weekend was enough for them to say goodbye to the manager, Ralph Hasenhüttl, who had been there for around 4 years, I think. So he's gone. They've dropped down in the bottom 3. Can they have a bit of a bounce? You know, the manager's gone. Let's go out and prove that it was his fault and not ours. But they're taking on a Liverpool side who, as I say, at home can turn it on when they want. And I've backed them to a narrow 1-0 win. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Next up, and still at 3 o'clock, we have got Nottingham Forest taking on Crystal Palace. So Forest are still sat down, bottom of the league, 20th place, but they aren't doing too bad on points. In fact, a win against Palace this weekend would be enough, depending on other results, could be enough to get them out of that relegation zone, and it would be a good time to do it before we go into the World Cup break. I think they will be happy to have kind of nicked a point at the end of their last game. However, they had good spells in that game, but taking a point was not a bad result. They are, however, taking on a Crystal Palace side who have been pretty decent this season, sat very much in the middle, 10th place right now, won 5, drawn 4, lost 4, so very much middle of the board, but with a really good away win at the weekend, beating West Ham. Now, don't get me wrong, West Ham have been very up and down this season, but they're a good team, and I think it was a good win for Crystal Palace, which is why I have backed them to win this one. I've gone 1-0 Palace in that one. Quick change of location as my Spurs versus Leeds preview disappeared. So we're doing it again. As I mentioned already, Spurs lost at the weekend against Liverpool 2-1. And didn't play very well. This Conte side is not always the most exciting to watch. They tend to sit back, try and hit on the counter, but they just really couldn't get anything working. Liverpool, as the away side, had more of the ball, had the better chances. I mean, Dyer gifted Liverpool a goal which didn't help, and Harry Kane did score, but wasn't enough to take anything from that game. So it'll be interesting to see how they set up against the Leeds side, who will be full of confidence, have won 2 games in a row now, and as I mentioned, going 1-0 up against Bournemouth, being 3-1 down against Bournemouth, and then winning 4-3 will no doubt give them a boost going into this one. How's Conte going to play it? Is he going to sit back against the Leeds side, who I think Spurs should be really going out and trying to beat? I don't know, but I have backed them. I've given it a 2-1. I can easily see Leeds getting on the score sheet, but it just depends on what Spurs turns up. If Harry Kane shows up and so does Son and a few of the others, I think they've got the better side to win this game. And the final 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday, we have got West Ham taking on Leicester. So I've just spoken about West Ham. They lost 2-1 against Crystal Palace at the weekend, despite Ben Rama actually putting them 1-0 ahead, scored an absolute thunderbolt. But some sloppy defending allowed Zaha in to score, and then Palace got the winner. And if you look at the stats of that game, West Ham had less possession, they had less shots, they had less passes. They just weren't good enough. And after the money they spent in the summer and the hopes of being up there in the Europa League spots, it's not going to plan. And I think they'll have a tough time against the Leicester side, who have really turned their season around. Despite them being bottom of the league for some time, have won 4 out of the last 5, are actually above West Ham in the league. Leicester in 14th, West Ham in 15th. Maddison has been playing some unbelievable football, is getting called for getting shouts for call-ups to the England squad as well. And that's who I've backed. I've gone Leicester 2-1 win. On to the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday, we have got Newcastle taking on Chelsea. So Newcastle are having a pretty good time of it right now, currently sat up in 3rd place in the Premier League. Despite how this game goes and other results, Newcastle will be in the top 4 when we go into that World Cup break, which is a good place to be. A 4-1 win against Southampton at the weekend. Goals for the main man, Miggy Almiron. That's 7 in 7 for him, and he's going to want to continue it at St James's Park. 5:30 kickoff on the telly, under the lights, against the Chelsea side, who have dipped in form a little bit. Graham Potter went in, started off with a great job. I think they drew 2 Premier League games in a row and then lost 2 Premier League games in a row. He had his first loss a couple of weeks back against Brighton and then lost against Arsenal 1-0 at the weekend, which was going to be a tough game. Arsenal are a very good side and are playing very well at the moment, but I thought maybe Chelsea could have grabbed something there, and they didn't. And I don't think they're going to have an easy time heading to St James's Park. And I am a Newcastle fan, but I just think it's one of them games. It's going to be a big blowout before the World Cup break. Everyone's going to be buzzing for it. The Newcastle crowd will be there in full voice. So I've gone Newcastle 2-0. I'm feeling it. I'm backing it. Hopefully I'm right. Now then, on to the Saturday at 7:45. So there is a late kickoff on the Saturday. We have got Wolves taking on Arsenal. So Wolves not having a great time right now. Currently sat down in 19th place. One of the biggest criticisms of Wolves so far this season is they aren't scoring enough goals. Well, they scored 2 at the weekend, and it was still not enough to get a result in this game. They lost 3-2 against Brighton. Semedo was sent off. I think in their last 6 games have won 1, drawn 1, lost 4. And I don't think it's going to be easy going in against an Arsenal side who remain top of the league. And as I mentioned, picked up a really good 3 points against Chelsea. Was not, the most exciting game, if I'm honest. I watched the first half and then went out because there was not a lot happening. But they've got the win. That is the main thing. And I'm backing them to get the win in this one as well. I've gone 3-0 Arsenal. I think they'll go out with a bang. They'll keep their top spot before, as I say, we go into this World Cup. On to the Sunday now at 2 o'clock. We have got Brighton taking on Aston Villa. So Brighton, since Potter left and the new manager De Zerbi came in, they'd had a bit of a slow start. You could see they were trying to play the right kinds of football, but wasn't really quite getting them the results. Well, in the last 2 games, it has certainly worked. A huge win over Chelsea, and then, as I mentioned at the weekend, a win against Wolves actually puts them up into 6th place in the Premier League, which is really good going. And as much as they are riding the confidence right now, I think Aston Villa will be as well. Unai Emery comes in for his first game on the touchline, and they get a win against Manchester United. They were actually 2-0 up after about 11 minutes and stole the show. Emery takes them to his first win as Villa manager. And this is quite a tough one for me to call. I think Brighton at home are playing well. Villa have got the new manager bounce. I've put the goals in, but I've backed a draw. I've gone 2-2. Hopefully a lot of fun to see in that one. We'll have to see if either team can edge it. And the final game of the weekend on Sunday at 4:30, we have got Fulham taking on Manchester United. So as I mentioned, Fulham lost against Man City 2-1 at the weekend. Could they feel a little bit hard done to with the penalty? Maybe. I think De Bruyne does get caught, but it's in the last second and it's very slight, and then they lose the game. And yeah, I think that could be a tough one to take. I mean, generally their form has been pretty good. In the last 6 games, they've won 2, drawn 2, lost 2. I think one of the problems is, will Mitro be fit? Mitro has been injured, and he is such a big part of that side, and taking on a Manchester United side, he could really be useful if he's available. As I mentioned, Man United lost their game at the weekend against Aston Villa. I did watch some of the game, and generally, I thought they were getting into some good spots, but they just were not taking advantage of the chances that they had, whereas Aston Villa, I think, pretty much scored every shot on target they had. Man United just could not seem to convert the ball into the back of the net. And you know what? If Fulham at home and if Mitro's back, I think you could give him a really good game. However, I have backed Man United I've gone for a 2-1 there. And that is it, guys. So those are my predictions up there for game week 16, the final weekend of Premier League football for over a month now, which is quite crazy. But I am planning to be back with predictions throughout the World Cup. So if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe so you do not miss any of the World Cup predictions or any of the Premier League predictions when we return at the end of December. And a big thank you to today's video sponsor, Skillshare. The link will be down in the description. Go and give it a click. It's free to do so. You get a free trial. If you want to try it out and you don't like it, you can then cancel the membership. It's a great site, and it really would help me if you took a look. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. As I say, drop a like and subscribe if you are new. Thank you for watching, enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you later.